So shalom and hello to everybody. We're so happy that you could join us for this sneak preview of the Museum of the Jewish Bible. My name is Eyal Carlin. I'm the Tourism Commissioner to North America of the Israel Ministry of Tourism. And we're now towards Rosh Hashanah, and we're going to be bringing in the new Jewish year. And this is a good opportunity for us, to repeat the Jewish blessing of let the former year and its curses end, and let the new year and its blessings begin. And this is also an opportunity to showcase how we are preparing in Israel for resuming international travel. And one of the exciting things that is happening right now in Israel is the completion of the renovation of the Museum of the Jewish People, which is one of the highlights of visiting Israel and also visiting Tel Aviv. And they were gracious enough to let us see the museum and show the museum to you, and also tie it into how you can have it as part of your package or your offers to your clients when they will be going to Israel. And so without further ado, let me hand this over to Dan, and the director of the Museum of the Jewish People, to let you see how the museum will look like in a month or two.
Thank you, Eyal, and the entire Ministry of Tourism team for hosting this webinar. And thank you, everybody, for joining. We value very much your attendance and your valuable time. So a little bit about the Museum of the Jewish People. We are a partnership of the State of Israel, Tel Aviv University, World Jewish Congress, World Zionist Organization, and Jewish Agency. We've been around since 1978. With a very simple mission to talk about Jewish identity, pluralistic, inclusive Jewish identity. We're a museum, we are a place of education, we are home to extensive databases, and we're a place of culture. And we're active both in Israel, where we're based, on the Tel Aviv University campus, and throughout the Jewish world. Some of you may have visited us since we opened 42 years ago. In the past decade, we've been through a process of complete renewal. This has been a long and challenging $100 million campaign for a complete renewal, remaking, reimagining of the Museum of the Jewish People. So any of you who've been here, this is not the museum that you would have seen 40 years ago, or 30, or 20, or 10, or even 5 years ago. The renewal process was done in two phases. Phase one, which was the smaller of the two, was launched 4 years ago. We opened a new wing, hosting 5 new galleries and 5 new exhibitions. It is a wing for changing exhibitions. And once that was open, and we could direct hundreds of thousands of people to that 20,000 square foot wing, we then shut down our core exhibition for a complete overhaul. That's another over 40,000 square feet of space. So when we open our new core exhibition in mid-November this year, we will have a 66,000 square foot museum about the Jewish people. Now, there are many Jewish museums in the world, usually divided into 2 categories. Either they tell a geographical story, the Jews of that place, right? You go to the Jewish Museum in Amsterdam and you learn about the Jews of Holland. You go to the Jewish Museum in Philadelphia and you learn about the Jews of North America, and so on. So that's one type. The other kind of museum is a thematic museum, and usually the theme is Holocaust. So there are various Holocaust museums both in America and throughout the world. Our museum is the only one whose scope is to tell the story in its entirety, both chronologically, beginning with the destruction of the first temple in the 6th century BC up till today, and secondly, in terms of trying to capture what Jewish living, what Jewish identity is today. The new museum will have 40 new specially produced films, 25 interactives, and hundreds of original objects that we've curated and selected over the past decade. And so all of this will be open in mid-November. Of course, we don't know what the world's going to look like in mid-November, but we thought it would be a very good idea for people to be made aware of the opening of this wonderful what we believe will be a must-stop destination in Tel Aviv. And so I think now is the time to give you that sneak peek that we promised. We've put together a little film that will showcase the museum that is about to open. Hello and welcome to the Museum of the Jewish People in Tel Aviv. This is the largest museum of its kind in the world, with over 66,000 square feet of exhibition space, hundreds of original objects, 40 specially produced films, and 25 state-of-the-art interactive display areas. Over 10 years in the making, we will be opening our doors later this fall and welcoming visitors to what will surely become a must-see destination. The museum consists of 4 wings spanning 3 floors. Here we encounter the unique and ongoing story of the Jewish people, beginning in antiquity and extending to our times. From the destruction of the first temple in the 6th century BC and exile to Babylonia, through the medieval period with its dual Jewish centers in Spain and Western Europe, the early modern era with Jewish life throughout Poland, Lithuania, and the Ottoman Empire, continuing with emancipation in Western Europe, and vibrant Jewish life in Eastern Europe and Islamic countries. To the arrival of the first Jews in America, and the Great Migration to the United States at the end of the 19th and beginning of the 20th century, and subsequent flourishing there. The Jewish journey, spanning thousands of years, includes periods of prosperity, thriving, cultural dialogue, as well as times of oppression and persecution. It culminates with the resurrection of the Jewish people after the Holocaust, the establishment of the State of Israel, and a representation of the varied Jewish communities of our time throughout the world. This wing focuses on the evolution of the synagogue as an institution, beginning with the temple in Jerusalem through to the present. 21 synagogue replicas from various locations and eras tell the story of Jewish assembly, worship, and study, while films and interactives depict various forms of congregation. Specially selected artifacts help tell the story, and a dedicated interactive invites visitors to take a journey through the world of Jewish liturgical music, performed by artists such as Barbra Streisand and the late Leonard Cohen. This wing is dedicated to the vibrant and rich life of the Jewish people today. It highlights Jewish contribution to arts and culture, including theater, dance, music, cinema, folklore, and of course humor. The Hebrew language and modern literature, the tapestry of Jewish denominations, and the contribution of Jews to humanity through science and medicine all present an abundance of individual and collective Jewish identities and cultures. This wing presents the conceptual foundations that are the backbone of Jewish existence. Foundations that are both uniquely Jewish and commonly universal.
The unique foundations include the Shabbat, the covenant, the yearly cycle, individual life cycle milestones, and a display on the Jewish canon. The universal foundation is the Bible and its influence on world culture, especially as it relates to concepts of justice and liberty. Here we encounter Judeo-Christian values and their foundational role, the Ten Commandments, as well as the ubiquity of the Bible in our language, folklore, art, and culture.
So as we said, there's scores of specially produced films and interactives and hundreds of newly introduced objects and artifacts. We prepared a short video about just one of these objects that tells a very interesting story.
This Esther scroll is from the beginning of the 16th century. The analysis of the parch and the Hebrew letters revealed that it was probably done by a person who fled Spain to northern France and settled in an Ashkenazi Jewish community. From France, he traveled to Fez, Morocco, to join its renowned Sephardi community. This scroll arrived in Israel in the 1960s and was donated to our collection lately. From Spain to northern France, to Morocco, to Israel, this Esther scroll traveled in the footsteps of Sephardi Jews.
As I said at the outset, we're also home to 5 extensive databases that have been collected over the past 4 decades and more. The databases include genealogy, Jewish family names, communities, photographs, and Jewish music. These databases have all been digitized and are accessible both over the internet, but also more extensively to people visiting the museum. So there's a section in the museum where docents can guide you through these databases and help you look for your Jewish roots if you are Jewish, but also look through, browse Jewish communities and photographs, music, and names, also if you don't happen to be Jewish. Continuing to take a look around the new museum, this view that you see now is taken from our new rooftop cafe. We're a very tall building situated on a hill in a neighborhood that is called Ramat Aviv, which literally means Aviv Heights. So bottom line is that it overlooks Tel Aviv in its entirety all the way to the Mediterranean. And so in this complete overhaul of the building, we prepared this rooftop terrace that will now be an area that you can either take a very nice view of Tel Aviv, or also, it's also a place where you can host events. So here's a look at some of the other facilities and amenities at the museum.
The museum is located just north of Tel Aviv on the beautiful campus of Tel Aviv University. We are a 25-minute drive from Ben Gurion Airport and 15 minutes from central Tel Aviv, right off the Ayalon Highway. Convenient car and bus parking are available nearby. The museum is open to the public every day, including Saturdays and late Thursday evenings until 10 p.m., making a visit easy to fit into your group's itinerary. You will enter the museum through our new spacious lobby. There's plenty of room here to assemble your group to meet our museum guide. The typical museum visit will start with a tour of the museum galleries, led by one of our specially trained educators. Tours are available in a number of languages. For Christian visitors, we have developed tours and routes through the museum that highlight topics and areas of special interest. All of our educators are equipped to answer any questions and can include stops that are of special relevance or interest to your group. After your tour, you'll want to leave time for a break at the Aroma Cafe with a full menu of coffee, breakfast, lunch, or snack options, kosher certified. And of course, everyone loves a museum shop and a great spot to find the perfect souvenir, book, or unique Judaica gift to bring home. We have newly renovated entertaining spaces that are the perfect place to plan an event. How about welcoming your group upon arrival or stopping here on the way back to the airport? There's a large state-of-the-art auditorium which can accommodate 220 people for a lecture, ceremony, concert, or screening. You can host a reception, seated meal, or casual get-together in one of our many large or more intimate indoor spaces with catering options available. These spaces can be configured comfortably to accommodate your large meeting or small private event. We've also added 2 new features that are unique to our museum and offer unrivaled opportunities for your groups. The Tisch Center for Dialogue is both an event space and programming venture designed to create meaningful encounters between visitors to Israel and like-minded Israelis. Mediated discussions led by museum specialists will allow visitors a chance to interact with, discuss, debate, and understand the complex issues of life in Israel and the relationship between Israelis and others outside the country. And before you go, you'll want to take a short elevator ride up to the museum's brand new rooftop cafe. Grab a drink or just gaze out at the glorious day or nighttime views overlooking the Mediterranean and the city of Tel Aviv. We can also schedule small private events on the roof just for you. We look forward to welcoming you soon.
Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Grace Rapkin, the museum's North American marketing and sales rep, working out in New York City, to tell you more about how to plan a visit.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. So hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. And it's great to see all of the faces, some of our friends, old and new, with us today. We welcome you to this little sneak peek at a preview of what's happening at the museum. So I wanted to let you know, first of all, that we're opening the chat now. So if you had some questions, you can start sending them in, and we will do a little Q&A at the end of my little talk here, and hope to answer your questions. So now you have a little better idea, for those of you who may not have been at the museum, or for those of you who haven't been for a while, of what's in store when you come and visit. And you should have gotten the sense that it's both easy and convenient to find the museum. And we're looking forward to having you. So let me review a few more of the ideas of what we have to make this an incredibly wonderful experience for your guests. Before I even begin, and we haven't mentioned this yet, of course, the museum, all the tour and event arrangements are subject to the current directives of the Ministry of Health in Israel. We're working very hard to manage the situation and to keep all of our visitors safe. So everything about arranging the tours is going to change given what the issues are and the directives for the conditions in Israel. So that being said, I just wanted to start with some of the basics of your tour. And of course, this is a museum. So what's the first thing I'm going to talk about? It's a guided tour. Of course, you want to come and have the best tour possible at the museum. And for that, we recommend that you arrange to use one of the museum's trained educators or guides. They're best capable of being able to show your guests around the museum comfortably, can answer any kind of questions that come up. And this really makes for a very wonderful, perfect experience for people. The tours that are going to be available are, of course, tours of our core exhibition when it's open. It's 3 full floors full of wonderful galleries, just as Dan showed you in the film. And so we're going to be able to show you around the core. We can also take you into the permanent exhibitions that are the Synagogue Hall and the Heroes Children Gallery, and any of our temporary exhibitions that will be on view at the time when you visit, as well as some museum installations. What we would say is that you should plan for the tour lasting about 45 minutes, and it can follow a number of different routes through the museum. So, for example, if you wanted to go into the core, we can do it themed according to which floor you would like to tour. We can do highlights of the whole exhibition if you want to take a peek through all of the floors. We can do special tours for children or families with children in any of the different galleries throughout the museum. We can also do brand new tour programming on Judeo-Christian themes, and that will mostly be in the core galleries on the second and first floors, which have a lot of content that will be of interest to our visitors. We can also, even now, arrange for tours of the temporary exhibitions. We have currently on view an exhibition on Jewish humor, and those will change as we move forward with the opening. Tours are available to everybody in a number of foreign languages, although I suspect for this group we're going to be talking mostly about English. And also something important to note is that the museum especially welcomes our guests with special needs. Services for people with special needs are built into the DNA of this museum, and we have a lot of special services that are available upon requests. So please make sure to ask about that if you're coming with guests with special needs. A typical visit, I get asked this a lot, what's a typical visit at the museum? I think you should plan for about 90 minutes. So that'll give you time to do the 45-minute guided tour. And then it leaves time for coffee, for a bathroom break, of course, for shopping in the shop, or anything else in terms of getting organized. We can also, if you have the time and are interested, we're able to customize your experience. If you have another hour that you'd like to add to your time at the museum, we have some add-on experiences that we can do for you. For example, we can arrange for a group discussion for your guests that will look back at some of the broad themes that were included on the tours through the galleries. Ideas such as Jewish values and rituals, global interconnectedness, tikkun olam, repairing the world, social action, a number of different themes like that to enhance the visit. We can also arrange for a lecture with a subject matter specialist who can speak to your group in the auditorium about topics that you may want to recommend to us, or some ideas that we have our lecture on Jewish diversity, on Christian-Jewish relations, or modern Israeli society. The other thing that Dan mentioned when he spoke was the idea of allowing your visitors some time to look at the databases with a docent. The docents are expert researchers, and it can help guests start a journey into their Jewish or family genealogy while they're at the museum, and then be able to continue that when they get home using the databases online. That's something that we get asked about a lot, and I wanted to make sure to make a special note of that for you. And that's for Jewish and for non-Jewish visitors who may come. Special routes and programs are available in the museum around the Jewish holidays, so it's fun to come and check out what we're doing around the museum and in the galleries during the holidays. And also we have special advance arrangements that we can do for your guests that will allow the docent to take your group into a special area of the museum about a special interest. Say you're interested in the Jews of India or Persian Jews or you're bringing a small family group for a bar and bat mitzvah tour, and they're interested in following that family's particular cultural heritage. All of that can be done in the museum. Those are things that we need advance notice to enable us to be able to do it for those groups. And then new and unique and special to this museum only, Dan told you about the Tisch Center. This is an amazing thing that I hope many of you will want to check out. The Tisch Center is a space, you saw some of the spaces, they're beautiful and brand new. And it's a place for a substantive encounter for your group with Israelis. And the idea is that we're going to bring everybody together in a room and moderate a discussion. And discussion can be about a lot of different things. One of the things that we are most interested in starting out with these groups is on issues of Israel diaspora relations. And we think that these will be very interesting ways for your group to kind of get a better look deeper beneath the surface at what, where they're visiting and who Israelis are. So keep that in mind for your visit. Events. As Dan mentioned, we're open to having all sorts of events. The museum has been configured specifically to make it comfortable to have events large and small at the museum. We can do welcome events or farewell events because you saw we're pretty convenient and easy to reach from the airport. And we can also do gallery talks as part of your event or not. It's up to you. And we can allow you to configure the event using any of our available spaces, such as the rooftop cafe, for example, or if you want to use the auditorium to do some kind of ceremony or welcome event. All of those are available to you and can be configured and customized to whatever your needs and interests are. We're able to cater events with our own in-house catering, or if you're interested in bringing in your own caterer, that's also a possibility. And we can do private events, meaning we can make arrangements for you to use the museum when it's not open for public hours. And then that will allow you to spread out, use more of the spaces. We can handle extra large groups, small groups, whatever it is that you need, we can make it work in the museum. The museum hours, they're different now. You'll see that they're different on the website than they will be. And that we anticipate that these will change, certainly as the situation with the virus changes, and also when we reopen the new core. So we are anticipating being open every day of the week, including Shabbat, Saturday from 10 to 3. We're open late on Thursday evenings, and then that's the way that you can enjoy those magnificent nighttime views of the city from the rooftop. And also we're open on Fridays from 9 to 2. So lots of possibilities there to have you come. Okay, so hopefully now I've gotten you really excited about coming to the museum. And let me tell you how you can book a tour. So I'm going to encourage you enthusiastically to book early. We are anticipating that there's going to be a lot of demand for these tours once we open the core exhibition, and we're not sure what the capacity restrictions are going to be, but hopefully none by the time we open. So I want you to make sure that if you're interested to call and to make your arrangements soon. Best way for you to do that, since you're here in the area, is to call me, and I'll put the contact information, how to find me, on one of the slides as we close the webinar. You also have the option to directly contact the museum's visitor center in Israel if you'd like to book that way, or you can go onto the museum's website, and there's a form there that you can use which goes to the visitor center, and someone will contact you to make the arrangements for your group. One of the ways that I know that most of you as agents are booking your tours is through your ground operator in Israel. And of course, that's another great way for you to set this up. They are available to you to discuss the pricing for your tours, suggestions about how to include the museum in what I know are your jam-packed, busy itineraries, but they're going to find a way to schedule a stop in to the museum during your tours here. So we hope that we've answered a lot of your questions and got you really inspired to come back to Israel, of course, and to include the museum in a stop in your itineraries going forward when you do come back. And we're very much looking forward to having you with us at this really super exciting time for the museum. I want to take a moment to thank our friends.
Wait, Grace, just before that, I just want to make sure we're going through the question. About the videos, there's a question about if they could be available to the agents. So just to make sure if you would be, we're going to be sending this presentation to everybody who was registered. But will the videos be available via YouTube or the museum's website?
Dan, I'm assuming.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. I'm assuming absolutely. And so
Yes.
for those that are interested in getting access to the video, please contact me and I will make the arrangements. Those of you who've worked with me know that we can make all of these things happen for you. So, but Eyal, before I turn it over.
And then the languages. I'm saying in the languages that the tours can be.
They're in all. Yeah.
At the museum, you mean? So the museum is entirely in Hebrew and English in terms of the text panels and anything that's printed. It's bilingual. Additional languages are available in audio guide, from Arabic through to Chinese. And I saw that there was a question about captions on all the videos. Yes, in fact, Israeli law would require us for any video to be captioned in both languages, in Hebrew and English.
And then also I want to remind everybody, just like Dan said, it's 25 minutes from the airport. So whether it's during the visit in Israel, but definitely as an opening to the visit in Israel or as a closing to the visit in Israel, this would be a fantastic opportunity to have a significant either first day or last day in Israel with such a beautiful museum.
So Eyal, before we turn over to any other questions, I did want to take this moment to thank you and to thank our friends at the Israel Ministry of Tourism for making this webinar possible. And shout out to you, to Chad, to Sarah, to Ellen, everybody who's been working with us behind the scenes to bring all of this material to our friends out in the field. So thank you for that.
It's our pleasure.
So are there any other questions that have come through? I'm going to turn it over to you now for the Q&A.
All right, because I think we actually have covered most. So we'll just leave it open for another minute or two. If anybody has any more questions, please feel free to write them out. There's a question here, allotted time a group has per floor or free time?
So the answer is that we would not recommend a tour of under 45 minutes. The ideal tour would probably be over an hour, something like 90 minutes. You could spend a week at the museum. It's so large. But we are going to be able to let you customize your tour. So if you let us know what the specifics of your groups are and points of interest, how much time you have, and what you want to fit in, we will customize your visit. I see there's a question about lunch in the location. There's a very large dairy restaurant, kosher certified, on the premises, and people really love it. Let me see if there are other questions that we haven't addressed. Admission. Admission is 49 shekels, which amounts to about $14.
Except that we often have different pricing packages for agents. So it's worth.
So obviously, Grace would not be doing her job if she didn't say that there would be special group rates and that we would be very happy to accommodate your special needs. Well, not special needs, but special requests. Captioning, we answered that. We will be charging admission on Shabbat. So Shabbat is, we charge admission, but no cash or credit cards actually are used. This is all pre-ordered. So transactions do not happen on Shabbat. It has to be ordered in advance.
Any VIP mission tours or high-end visitors? Any special tracks or tours or customized options for that?
Absolutely. The bottom line is you tell us what you want to do and what you need to do, and the space is so versatile that we can literally do anything.
And we got a question from Rachel Weinstein, who asked if we can put together a virtual tour. So Rachel, contact me and we'll see what we can put together for you. We are definitely doing all kinds of virtual tours for all kinds of Jewish organizations in the US, and it's been actually very popular, and there's a lot of options. So for anyone who's interested in doing virtual tour programming in the meantime, until you can get physically to the museum, we are totally happy to accommodate your requests and put together a custom tour.
Yeah. Somebody asked if there's non-kosher food available. No, there isn't. It's a dairy restaurant. It's very good.
It's Aroma. I mean, for those of us who know Aroma, it's a treat to go to Aroma when you come from the US. Totally.
And then if there's audio described tracks or options available?
Yeah, so besides the captioning, the audio guide is also the tool for visually impaired people to be guided through the museum. And it will be available either through a physical, clunky audio guide or through an app.
And I see there's a question about group rates.
Sure.
So the typical group rate is a discount of a few dollars per person, and it varies according to the size of the group and the arrangements that you're putting together, what we're doing when you're coming. So I think that it's much better to answer that on an individual basis. And if you have a specific question, again, please contact me. I will absolutely get the answer for you given what you are planning.
All right, I see there's a question about missions meeting with either Dan on site or with Grace in New York as a preparation for a mission.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, I'm happy to meet with anyone. I mean, once we get back to traveling, I was traveling around, meeting with people all around the US. So, but in the meantime, I'm happy to meet with anybody via Zoom, and we can do any kinds of arrangements that would make that.
Right. Under normal circumstances, I travel often to the US. So when that resumes, happy to meet anybody who wants to. And also, if anybody has representatives in Israel, before travel is available, if you want to send a representative to come see the museum in person, we very much welcome that. So just be in touch and we'll arrange that.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Dan. That's an important point. I work with a partner at the museum, and she is constantly hosting tours through the museum for the Israeli tour operators and inbound folks in Israel. So please, by all means, send folks to the museum if they're based in Israel. I think we might have gotten all the questions.
Okay, so again, thank you for the museum. Oh wait, I've brought groups up. All right, well, thank you, Lisa, for a good recommendation. So again, thank you for the Museum of the Jewish People. This has been an exciting sneak peek, and we're all waiting for travel to resume and to have the museum as part of everybody's itinerary. Thank you to the team of the museum. Thank you to the team in IMOT. Again, we want to wish everybody a Shana Tova, a happy and sweet and safe new year. And we will be sending out a recording of this webinar to everybody. And together with that, we'll also send, once, where the videos are uploaded to, we'll send the link to that, plus all of the email and contact info. So again, thank you to everybody, and Shana Tova, and we'll see you in a good next year.
Shana Tova.
Thank you.
Bye, Shana Tova.